right, welcome. And what are we working on today? We're working on some more overshot, but this time I'm going to talk a little bit more about the treadling and how I tie it up and make it easier for myself. But let's just take a look at this piece first. What I have in the warp is a 6-2 cotton. You could use 8-2 as well. Just decide to use 6-2 this time. And in the weft, this happens to be some superwash wool that I hand dyed. Might be a little hard to see there, but there's some little sparkles in it. It's about DK weight, or about, I think, 225 yards in 100 grams, something like that. The yarn that I'm using for the tabby is actually a 20s 2, some very thin yarn, which I like because it really helps it kind of squish up together after it's all done. And what I'm going to be doing is showing you, again, a little bit about how the treadle is, how I think while I'm processing this, and also the sheet that I use to follow the pattern, and how I know when to stop and where to stop, and so forth. So let's get started. Now let's talk a little bit about the treadle arrangement. This particular overshot pattern uses 4 treadles for the pattern, and then I need 2 for the tabby. So if we take a look at what I did, now this particular 4-shaft loom happens to have a few extra treadles because I acquired them. Most of them only have 6, so you might not be able to do this, but you could still arrange your treadles close to this arrangement. So what I did is, this is part of the pattern, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then these 2 are tabby. Now I'm fortunate enough to be able to put a space in between. If not, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4 as the pattern, and these 2 as the tabby. That would be my suggestion for tying up your treadling. Because what I do then is I keep these 2 when I like to do things like, this is when I press this foot, I throw my shuttle to the left, and when I go to the right, I do this one. So for example, I would press, if this is the pattern, I would press 1, and then depending on which, if I was throwing the shuttle from left to right, then I would press my right treadle. Then let's say the next treadle I have to press is number 4, then, and I'd be throwing it from right to left, then I press this one. It's just the way my body shifts. And I'm going to be demonstrating that in a moment, or maybe I already did. I'm putting all kinds of recordings together, so we'll see which comes first and which comes second. For me, this is what I do. I do have an iPad with the pattern on, and I could do the treadle tracker and all, but I like to go old school sometimes. So I find a large post-it like this, or if you want to use a smaller one, you can, and I copy my pattern. And in this situation, I'll be using treadle 4, then I do 1 3 times, and then I follow the pattern down until I get to the middle, and 4 is 2 times. And if we go over to the pattern here, I know this is the center, that's 2 times. And then I have 3 times twice, a 1 and a 2. I know that's the center of the pattern. So when I get there, if I have to stop, I can go back and find it. My plan is always to go through the whole pattern without any distractions, and making sure that I have enough yarn on the bobbins, or if I know I might run out, make sure you have a bobbin ready to fill, because you don't want to be stuck in the middle of a pattern. Because if you're like me, you come back and you're like, okay, where am I? You have to go wind a bobbin. Anyway, that's just me. That's how I try to plan ahead a little bit. And I guess a lot of times in weaving, planning ahead is very helpful. And now we're ready. Okay, now we're ready. We're going to start. And yeah, it's not as helpful if you can see underneath. I'm going to start with the 1. Or yeah, number 4, except as I just looked, I made a mistake, and you could see that. Did you see, sometimes when you start something and you go, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be right, so you go back and you move your foot over to the right treadle. So this is number 4, and then, like I said, I'm pressing the treadle on the right for the tabby, and I'm throwing left to right. That's what I learned. That's what works well for me. Now this time, this is one of the reasons why you need the tabby. I'm going to do 1 3 times, but the tabby needs to switch. Right to left, number 1 again, left to right tabby, number 1 again, and the right treadle. If you would make a mistake, right now you would basically see there was something going on if you made a mistake. So it's a good idea to keep your eye on what you're doing. Now I'm going to treadle number 2 for the next pattern. And again, I'm going to the right. And according to my pattern, it says 3. And I do talk out loud. I say the numbers out loud. It helps me remember where I am. 4. Let's treadle 4. Now it's treadle 1. Now it's 2 3 times. Again, it's 2, right treadle, 2 again, left, and 2 again. Right. Now I will do 3 1 time. And now I'm going to do the middle, and it's 4 2 times. And now I am halfway through. Basically, I'm right here, halfway through. And then I would continue doing the second, get this out of the second half of this particular pattern to finish it up. Now let's take a look at this piece of fabric. First of all, let's just look at the shrinkage. This is what it was in the loom and afterwards. This is machine washable wool is what I'm using. I forgot to say it's a superwash wool with a little bit of nylon in it. And so it shrunk up a little bit, mostly because of the cotton, but this piece has a mistake in it. And what happened was I started weaving. Something happened, got distracted, came back, started weaving, and then I came back and went, wait a minute, something just doesn't look right. So I'll give you a moment and see if you can find the mistake. One of the things that I try to do to see if I can find the mistake is if I squint my eyes a little bit and kind of make everything a little fuzzy. What happened was I'm looking here and this didn't make a nice straight diagonal. It's supposed to be a nice straight diagonal. Now if you see what happened, it's right here is where the mistake happened. This here, we have these two, it kind of looks like a little grouping, 3 3 1 1 1. Well, up here, I forgot to do the top part. I did the middle and went to the other one because I was weaving this way. Now, these are things that weavers say, oh, it's a design element after you make this kind of a mistake. Well, for me, I don't call them design elements, they're mistakes. It's not, now if I was consistently doing it, I didn't. Maybe you could call it that. But again, I guess I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to weaving in patterns. This particular piece, if there was an error in it, I'd probably cut it up and make a little bag out of it or do something with it. I would not be able to gift it, or maybe I'll just keep it for myself. So anyway, that's one thing I'd like you to look for. After you're doing your weaving or as you're doing weaving, keep looking and see if you see anything that might be out of whack.